There's one tweet. Give me one more. That's all I need to see. There it is. We are live, everybody. Monday, October 29th, 9-game slate. Myself and my co-host, Eddie Fear. What's going on, Eddie?
Doing it to it. That was nice pit crew action there. We moved from the last show into this one with frightening alacrity this time.
I know. I think we might win this race. We got 9 games. And we've decided to do a 5-minute timer on each game so we can get through it quickly and have enough time for questions. So let's not dilly-dally any longer. Yeah, I said it. We dilly-dally. It's a word.
Dilly-dally.
Yeah, that's a word I'm going to use. First game up.
That comes from being dilatory and from medallions, by the way. If you enjoy etymology and word phraseology as much as I do, which I'm sure you do, who isn't a nut for etymology?
Exactly. That is interesting to me. No sarcasm there at all.
I love that.
100% serious.
I live. Anytime a aphorism comes up, I like to explain the word origins. I'm all about that. Now may not be the best time, but yeah, I'm about that life.
5 minutes on the clock. Indiana Pacers, Portland Trailblazers.
Won't need it.
Yeah, we won't need it. I don't have much on the Indiana side. I'll just give my high-end thoughts, and then I'll kick it over to you. I'll have a little bit of Darren Collison. That is probably it from Indiana. I don't have a problem with Oladipo or Turner, just not the directions I'm going today. And on the Portland side, again, not a ton now that there's so much news. CJ McCollum's value at 6,700 on FanDuel is not as appealing as it was this morning. I'll have some, but not a lot. This is just not that interesting of a game. It's a great regular game, just not that great of a fantasy game.
Yeah, it's a fine, close basketball game. People have asked me today, is it worth it, Yusuf Nurkic? No, it's not a Nurkic day for me. I would rather play Zach Collins. My favorite player from this game would be Zach Collins. By the way, the quality of writing in this industry, really bad. For some reason, people have taken to sending me shit writing. And the amount of shit writing I have received today about fantasy basketball is hilarious. Not one, but 2 people were talking about how Zach Collins was in a timeshare at power forward. He has barely played power forward. I think he has like 3 minutes next to Nurkic this year. He's the backup center.
Yeah.
Him and Nurkic, the last game, shared 48 minutes at center. The game before that, played 48 minutes at center. The game before that, I think they combined for 52 minutes because they played next to each other for 3 minutes. But he's the backup center, so... Jesus Christ, the writing today was dreadful. Like, usually I get 1 to 2 things a day. Haha, look at this funny thing this guy said. The cut and paste snipping tools I've received today on the writing. Lots of really bad writing. So watch what you're listening to and reading. But anyway, yeah, Zach Collins, if I have to take a guy from this game. Generally, Nurkic, we like a little more a la Valanciunas when he gets to hang around the basket. Has had decent games in the past. When these teams played last year twice, you got a decent Nurkic game out of one of them, but for both those games, Miles Turner was out, so he was dealing more with Sabonis. So, is Nurkic insane in a tournament? No, especially DK where he's 6,400. Can certainly get there, even if the minutes are limited, and there's no guarantee that they are. But I would much rather play Zach Collins as still a low-owned punt with a giant upside. Beyond that, I don't hate Evan Turner in tournaments, especially with Mo Harkless not playing. That kicks up the minutes a little bit. He's only 4,100 on DK and is going to produce around the board. But, yeah, this game is shit. Not a particularly good matchup for Lillard. McCollum is too cheap. So if you're playing, $6,700 McCollum, $6,000 McCollum, but shooting guard is actually a pretty boss position today. So yeah, that's just tournaments for me. But he's cheap enough if you want to do that. And as far as the Pacers go, and I don't do this often, I think I'm just on no. I guess Thad Young on DK at 4,600. You make me roll somebody out, it's Thaddy Daddy. But once you bring Tyreek back in there, it ruins Tyreek himself. Like Tyreek at 5,300 on FanDuel is a little cheap. I guess you can do that. But Tyreek and Collison and Oladipo and Kojo wreck each other. So until one of those guys goes out, and again, Kojo and Collison and Oladipo have all underproduced this year. And last game, Tyreek got himself suspended for one game, and all 3 of them were good. And now Tyreek is back, and the matchup isn't good. So, yeah, you want to play Sabonis in a tournament. FanDuel, he's only 5,500. Sure, that could happen. He's a fantasy point per minute monster. He could get 42 in 24 minutes. But you'd have to really want it. So, I'm done with this game.
Yeah, Turner's cheaper on FanDuel than he is on DK, and that's normally appealing. It's just not appealing on a day where Anthony Davis is scratched and Giannis is scratched, and we have all of this additional value. There's no need to force it.
Yeah, and there's other mid pro. Like I'm in love with Jared Allen today, and he's 5,400 on DK. So if I'm in that range, I'm going to play him.
Yeah.
Julius Randle's a center on FanDuel at 6,300, so I'd rather play him over either of those two guys if I was trying to take a shot, or like so. Just I'd have to be deep in 150. I would have a total of like 4x1 guys from this game. Like it's just not a spot I'm looking at.
Luckily, we still have a minute, and we have a question in chat, and I'm answering it only because it's a friend from home. So,
Okay.
I was high on CJ this morning. I'm not high on him now, but on FanDuel, Middleton and Brogdon are now way different plays than they were this morning. So I just don't have that much volume going to CJ any longer.
Yeah, and one of my favorite min price punts is Frank Jackson too. Who's 3,500 on FanDuel at the.
We will definitely get to him because I've got quite a bit.
Yeah, because so I like that shot. I don't mind Karis LeVert. Again, in the green room, you were talking about like you're like we don't have to spend long at all on Brooklyn and New York. I really like Brooklyn and New York. Like I want to, I kind of want to stack that game in a couple lineups if I could. So we'll get there.
Yeah, good news is we still had 15 seconds left and done. Reset, and we are on to the Philadelphia 76ers hosting the Atlanta Hawks.
Yep.
This one is basically not a great game. I'll have a little bit of Embiid because there's a ton of savings out there, and if I'm going to be able to save money, I'm going to pay up for ceiling, and that's Embiid. I'll have a little bit of Simmons, probably under the field. Otherwise, I don't have a ton of interest in Philly unless you want to get into the theory of getting guys that could get additional run for a blowout, so somebody like Markelle Fultz. And then on the Hawks side, only Trae Young and Bembry are the guys that I'm really looking at.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. And again, I'm gonna do a value list real quick off the top of my head. So sure. DK, Fultz in tournaments, Bembry in tournaments, Turner in tournaments, Collins in tournaments, Winslow in tournaments, Justin Jackson in tournaments, Damian Jones, Ersan Ilyasova in anything you want, Pascal in anything you want, Brooke Lopez in tournaments, John Henson in tournaments, Taj in anything you want, Okogie in tournaments, Forbes in tournaments, Etuan Moore in anything you want, and Monty Morris in tournaments. That's that. FanDuel, like for your student punts, Forbes at point guard, Shumpert, Frank Jackson, Okogie at shooting guard, Bembry, Justin Jackson, Etuan Moore at small forward, and Collins, Ersan, Pascal, or Henson at power forward, and I can see Damian Jones at center if for some reason you wanted to punt center, which is rarely a good idea on FanDuel, and this night not being the exception to that rule. Yeah, 76ers, I think you have it right on. I'm a little higher on both Embiid and Simmons than I think. Like, this game probably will be a blowout, but not necessarily. If it is, it's because one or both of them put up at least 45 or 50. Simmons isn't frequently going to shoot 5 for 20 from the field when his average shot distance is, 6 feet or whatever it is. DK especially, they're both well cheaper. Simmons is $800 cheaper. Embiid is $1,000 cheaper. But $9,700 Simmons, where his ownership has plummeted due to all the amazing mid-price plays today, and very decent likelihood of a triple-double here. I like Simmons. I like him. Yeah, if you're gonna go, and it's a good matchup for Robert Covington. Always tournaments only. It's Robert Covington tournaments only. Yeah. But I can see running any of the starters in this lineup here. Covington in tournaments is fine with me. Saric in tournaments is fine with me. 5,600 is still just a number you can get on top of, and you'll have him at a percentage and a half owned, and that makes it worth it for me. But I like Embiid. I like Simmons. Probably just tournaments because of the massive number of just underpriced plays today. Cash, it's really hard to spend 10 or 11,000 on those guys when there's so many guys who cost 7,000 you project for 42. But off the bench, if you're building that, I think this game blows out lineup. Then you play Fultz, and I guess Shamet is your second guy if you're going to do that. I think there's only one game that the 76ers blew out this year, and he was the guy who got the preponderance of bench usage there.
Do we know any news on Wilson Chandler yet?
Non-specifically, not as far as I know. Okay. If it is, I've missed it. Bembry, I like as a call. Probably tournaments, just both sites, but has stepped into that role a lot. And the guy who I like him in a blowout, he'll be out there again. And again, has been giving you the first game there, he didn't play much, but since then has been giving you 20, 25, 30, even had one monster game in there. So Bembry in the low to mid fours still makes sense for me. Yeah. Dwayne Dedmon, if I was building 150 FanDuel lineups, would find his way into 1 or 2 where he's still 4,500. Looked amazing in his first game out, 13 and 5 blocks, I think. Maybe the minutes come up even higher here.
I should have mentioned Dedmon. I have 5% Dedmon on FanDuel right now.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Taurean Prince not completely out of play for me. If this game does stay close, if you somehow built a Simmons Embiid lineup, I'm running Prince or Young back at you. Kent Bazemore reminded us he's Kent Bazemore last game. Probably always in playing a tournament. Still a little too cheap on DK, but you'd have to be. It's a pretty amazing slate, so you have to be pretty deep in there to play Kent Bazemore. But if you fit in your tournament lineup, I wouldn't hate it. And Trae Young now appropriately priced in a really difficult matchup. Again, wouldn't be wrong in a tournament. Seeing Trae Young put up 26 and 11 and get 45 fantasy points wouldn't shock me. But again, you're bucking on this game staying close. So I'm done.
We still have a minute 50.
Go. Move on. We need more of it for other games.
I certainly agree. The Miami Heat and the Sacramento Kings, next team up on the list.
Yeah, here's another one. This is the game I think it's... I'm sorry, you've been going first. I shall defer.
No, that's okay. I'm not going to have a ton to talk about here. I like a little bit of Goran Dragic on FanDuel. I think that Whiteside is mildly appealing, but I think there's just too many good options elsewhere. Otherwise, I'm good here. I don't have anything else. Now, I will say, Kelly Olynyk on DraftKings at 4,900 is a much different play than he is at 6,400 on FanDuel. So if you're playing Kelly Olynyk, while he is chalk on DraftKings, he should be. That's just it looks like a misprice, honestly.
Yeah, he was pretty dreadful and not even really in the rotation for a while there. So
true.
Kelly O obviously can disappoint, but looked really good last game. Looking at that price on DK, I think is right. Whiteside, I think, is fine. More of a tournament play for me. There's just guys who are more cost effective. I would rather play today, but is apparently getting the real amount of minutes. Hasn't blown up against Willie Cauley-Stein in the past, though I consider that more low sample size than anything demonstrative. Some more of the bad writing I saw today was that the rotation in Sacramento is all over the place and we don't know who's going to play. We kind of know exactly who is going to play, at least on 7 guys. When the game is close, you get very nice minutes and usually production out of De'Aaron Fox and sometimes Iman Shumpert, but definitely Nemanja Bjelica and Willie Cauley-Stein. And you can go look at their game logs, and this is their 7th or 8th game of the year. And when the games were close, those guys all get lots of minutes and tend to be really productive. And when the game isn't close, they're all shit, and that usage flows to a number of guys, but most targetable, Marvin Bagley and Justin Jackson. So if you want to take a piece of this game, just decide ahead of time. Is it going to stay close? If you think it's going to stay close, sure, consider stacking yourself up some, probably off the top of my head, Dragic, Whiteside, Bjelica, Fox, Bjelica, Willie Cauley-Stein, Bjelica, Shumpert, if you want to think he maybe bumps up those minutes again. He hasn't been healthy, but again, we obviously saw a monster game there, and he's wicked cheap, under 4K. If you think this game turns into a blowout, which I do think is a little more likely with the Kings on the road here, then feel free to get yourself some exposure to Bagley and or Justin Jackson. And there you go. That's this game.
Yeah, I have 3% Marvin Bagley. I don't have any shares of anything else on the Kings side, so I really don't have a ton of hot takes.
Yeah, I mean, I in the games in which they have stayed close, like Bjelica, who's still 5,300 on DK, has legitimately been good. If you look at his, I'll load his, his DraftKings game log. First game was close, played 27 minutes, had 34 fantasy points. That's exceptional. Next game they played the Pelicans, got their shit pushed in. He played 10 minutes and got 7 fantasy points when he was pretty popular. And that pushed a lot of people off on him for the year. Next game, came back, played the Thunder. The Thunder are shit, so the Kings managed to beat them, I believe. Yeah, they beat them in this game. Played 30 minutes, had 33 fantasy points. Next game, played Denver. Denver's good. Sacramento isn't. Denver fucked them up. He only played 20 minutes, had 16 fantasy points. Next game, played Memphis. Memphis is shit. Played 31 minutes and had 44 fantasy points. Last game, played Washington. Washington is currently playing like ass, and they won that game. He played 36 minutes and had 54 fantasy points. It's one of the most predictable things ever once you decide if the game stays close. If the game stays close, he's been really, really good.
Yeah.
So, I'm just saying, if you're playing Whiteside, Dragic, Bjelica is probably the first guy I'm rolling it back with. So it's an amazing slate. A lot of other guys are safer and more predictable, but like him, I guess I'm done.
Yeah, no problems with B Jelly in that scenario.
B Jelly, that's a good nickname.
It really is. Mostly because when anyone looks at that name, they're not landing on the correct pronunciation.
It's yes. There's quite a bit of. I've heard Bajelic, I said more times than I'd care to remember.
Yeah. All right, here you go. I'm going to let you lead off on this one.
Yay!
The floor is yours. Knicks and Nets. Do you want me to set the timer at 25 minutes? How much do you need here?
Oh, no, I don't need that much time. Look,
5 minutes, go.
We got a Knicks lineup, so yeah, I really want to screw around with this.
Okay.
I, in some capacity, like all the Knicks starters. The Knicks are going to start Ntilikina, Hardaway, Dotson, Vonla, and Robinson again. They've already announced that. They're all too cheap for a matchup with the Nets. They're just all too cheap. Like, I don't like playing Frank Ntilikina. He costs like $3,900. He may be the guy playing in this game I'm least attracted to. Not that he's not a very handsome young French gentleman, but what I'm saying is he's like, his last game, he actually had a really good shooting game. He shot, I want to say 7 for 13 from the field or something. Still managed to only land fantasy points in the 20s. So you have to wonder what it's really going to take to hit an upside. I think Moutier is available to play today. So now point guard is all kinds of jacked up. I'm just not interested in Trey Burke because Ntilikina is starting, and I think Moutier gets on the court, and Fizdale keeps trying to. He's like a Cub Scout troop leader trying to make Moutier feel good about himself. Like, it's just you can get your merit badge. Like, he's really trying to make Moutier feel like he has a place, and he's just not good. But
no, he's not.
Ntilikina's starting again, and 3,900, and it's the Nets. Like, this is a really good matchup. These teams play each other a lot. They played each other twice in the preseason, and this is the second time in the regular season. So they've actually played each other 4 times in a month, counting the preseason. So these guys have seen each other a lot, and unsurprisingly, there's a lot of decent production here. Again, this is a starting lineup with Noah Vonla, Frank Ntilikina, and Mitchell Robinson in it. That's 3 people who do not know how to offensively score a basketball. So Tim Hardaway and Damian Dotson should take a lot of shots here. Now, Tim Hardaway is a little more expensive than I like to spend on. Tim Hardaway doesn't tend to get those 3 steal, 3 blocks games like he did earlier this year, but he could be an absolute monster here.
He might shoot 35 times.
Yeah, that's not an exaggeration. He might shoot 35 times. Damian Dotson is a couple hundred either side of 5K. Makes an absolutely compelling tournament play on a day where there's a real upside there, and he's not going to be owned, and even plays in blowouts if that happens to happen. Vonla, for me, now makes an excellent tournament pivot off massively owned Ersan Ilyasova. They're almost exactly the same price. Vonla is a rebounding monster, which adds to him some sort of reasonably safe floor there. And if I'm loading up Vonla here, his last 4 games were 22 minutes, 27 fantasy points, 19 minutes, 22 fantasy points, 17 minutes, 19 fantasy points, 22 minutes, 25 fantasy points. Like, none of that is super exciting. My socks aren't rolling up and down, but the matchup with the Nets is pretty damn exciting. The big minutes appear to still be kind of secure, and 25 minutes last game, I'd project him for about that again, especially if the game stays close. I think he actually picks up a little extra time, and this game should stay close. I like Vonla as sort of a tournament pivot off an Ersan Ilyasova, who I still have to say looks a little bit better. And Mitchell Robinson is $3,400 on DK, and has all the raw talent in the world. He can certainly pick up steals and blocks and stuff. So for the Knicks, I kind of like all the starting Knicks. I don't really want to pay $7,000 for Canner coming off the bench, but Canner really sticks it in the Nets, as do most centers, and has plenty of 45-point games against them, and is going to dominate the usage off the bench. Like, if I was bowling 150, I think I'd have some Enes Kanter, which is a little weird. But the center I really want in this game is Jared Allen. Talk about other guys who, chip writers talk about, we never know what he's going to do. We always know what he's going to do. If the other center hangs up by the basket, he's great. If he doesn't, he's shit.
Yeah.
So if you look,
he's 5,400 on DraftKings.
He's amazing on DraftKings. First game of the year on DraftKings, played Andre Drummond, 30 minutes, 39 fantasy points, and he hung around the basket all the time because, it's Andre Drummond. He's not pulling you out of there. Second game was against the Knicks, by the way, 33 minutes, 38 fantasy points. I like him a little better with Kanter there because Robinson, while talented, is not the rebounder that Kanter is. And I think it is a lot of damage here. I would project him for well north of 30 for his $5,400. Third game, they played Indiana. Miles Turner was in. Miles Turner ran him all the hell over the court. He only played 21 minutes. He had 10 fantasy points. Fourth game, he played Cleveland. They started Tristan Thompson, 27 minutes, 30 fantasy points. But there is a trend here. This is not completely random. So big fan of Jared Allen. And certainly if you're stacking this game, even if you're not, I like tournament exposure to D'Angelo Russell and Karis LeVert. D'Angelo Russell has been very good against them, not surprising. You'd rather see Trey Burke starting than Frank Ntilikina, who's actually a very good defender. So I probably prefer LeVert because of how their defenses will align. But I like both of those guys in tournaments too. And I'm done. But I have quite a bit of interest in this game, and it's probably my second favorite game to stack. Like, I really want to build a game stack here that's like Russell, LeVert, Allen, Robinson, Vonla, Dotson, Hardaway, and a guy, and just see if they can just absolutely go nuts. So
This game scares me because I have so little part of it, and it's different on FanDuel. Jared Allen at 6,900, a very different price point than.
Not nice. You want to say it's nice, but not.
Yeah, it's just not. And like, if you want to go to value, it's Joe Harris is cheaper on FanDuel than DraftKings, and that's not exactly getting you super pumped. I do like the Vonleh call though. He's one of the guys that I do have a decent amount of, and he's only projected to be like 2% owned on FanDuel, so you can come in at 6% and be good to go.
Yeah, and again, power forward on FanDuel, a lot of really nice value plays. You have Zach Collins, you have Ersan, who's going to be very, very chalky. You have Pascal,
who's
in a really good spot. You have John Henson, who's perennially underowned, and now you have Vonleh there. There's 5 really good 4K $4,500 power forwards.
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot to go around. If you want to play Mitchell Robinson for $3,500 on FanDuel, I don't begrudge you that. I just don't know if you need that money.
Yeah, I think it's a perfectly fine construction. Like, you can definitely, but you decide that's where you're building the weird lineup, because you're not playing all these amazing mid-price plays. You are playing LeBron and Steph or Durant, and then sure, Mitchell Robinson for minimum price there. Probably prefer to Damian Jones by a hair and a few $100s cheaper.
I would pay the extra 1,000 and go to Dedmon, I think.
Yeah, no, I in a vacuum, you may not have it, but yeah, I agree.
If I could, I would. That would be my goal, because Mitchell Robinson could be just bad.
Could be.
Which I guess if you think that's going to happen, take a look at.
He's like 19.
Or take a look at Enes Kanter. Anyway, we are at 5 minutes. Let's move on. Bulls and Warriors. Another game where this should be interesting.
Warriors. Yeah, I love all the blowouts here. Like, through these 4 games, we have like who's not favored by 10. Like, Portland and Indiana was close, and Knicks and Nets were close. But the Heat, the 76ers, and the Warriors, all double-digit favorites, or maybe they're 9 and change, but they're all 9 to 12.
I have this one at 11 right now.
Yeah, it sounds right.
So, Bulls side. Zach LaVine is priced now highly, so it's not a spot that I really want to be. Jabari Parker is going to get physically, emotionally, all sorts of abused in this game. It should go really, really poorly for him.
Yeah, if I was to draw like an infographic for this game, there would definitely be a spot in the background where Draymond Green has Jabari Parker bent over his knee, and there's like
somebody needs to provide Jabari Parker with like a 1-800 number for something, because he's going to need some help. I can't in good conscience recommend anybody from the Bulls. Guys like Chandler Hutchison should play enough minutes to be viable at 4,000/3,400. But this game is really bad for the Bulls.
Yeah, it's you don't look at a ton of amazing minutes coming. Like, you can play like guys like Blakeney if you think they get their shit pushed in.
Yeah, Carter at 4,700. Like, the value is there, but this game is so bad.
Gianno Felicio, if you think he gets all the blowout run. Chandler Hutchinson's still 3,400.
Right.
I'd rather Mitchell, but okay, like I can see doing that. But yeah, we've talked about it enough. I mean, I will say, I do think Zach LaVine is viable in tournaments. There is just a shot he does the Tim Hardaway thing, but I would rather save $1,000 and play Tim Hardaway. But
right.
But, Zach LaVine could do that same thing. But that's, again, I would rather play Tim Hardaway. Campaign, disappointing last game, got yanked for Ryan Arcidiacono, who I say every day now, so I don't forget how to pronounce.
Smart. That's smart. The Warriors side are going to be a little bit more appealing because they have, real basketball players.
That helps.
Curry would be the guy that I would want the most. And again, I'm coming from a FanDuel perspective, 9,800. He's always potentially putting up a 10-3 game.
Klay Thompson is probably the guy I want the most, because I don't think he has forgotten how to shoot a basketball. Maybe he did, but that would be odd because I have no evidence he really knew how to do much of anything else. So it'd be odd.
He's shooting like 15% from the season or something like that.
I don't even know. That's not true. He's become a very strong defender. But he's one of the best shooters I've ever seen. So you have to think this fixes itself. And the matchup really doesn't get any better. Like, it actually doesn't get any better. This is the best matchup for a catch-and-shoot shooting guard in the league.
Yeah.
This is the matchup I want. Zach LaVine is going to be too busy flexing, or I don't even know what to ever.
Chris Dunn's not there to do anything.
Yeah, it's just a stellar spot. So, and there's so much other 7-8K value I like a lot. And I like Simmons and Embiid a little bit more than Curry and Durant. And I do think the Bulls get wrecked. So whereas it wouldn't surprise me to see 50 or 55 out of Curry and Durant, it would surprise me to see either of them get into the 60s. So,
Yeah, I share your interest in Clay, particularly on DK, where he's 5,600, which I can barely say without laughing. And again, like Draymond at 7,500 or 7,000, I have no issue with it. It's a good spot. It's a good price. But like this game, they could play 25 minutes because this game is a 40-point game in the middle of the third quarter. I don't know what the Bulls can possibly do to slow them down, and they certainly don't have enough firepower to keep up. So
Yeah, I think that's the most likely. So yeah, you have to really want it to go somewhere else.
I'm not normally a guy that like looks into heavy blowout stuff, but I mean this one's about as close as it gets. So go Warriors, I guess. You have anything else here? The real games should be picking up right now.
Yeah. No, we can go.
We're going really well too. Got a lot to talk about. We might need to set the clock a little bit higher on this one, but we have the time. Milwaukee and Toronto. No Kawhi, no Giannis. I have
no OG Anunoby.
No OG Anunoby.
No Delon Wright.
Is that official?
I'm pretty sure Delon Wright has been out for some time, and Fred VanVleet was questionable. But I've heard several people say like that they're both up in the air. I really thought we knew Delon Wright was out. But
he's not out yet.
Okay, well there we go. Now
Not that that's really changing anything for me. It's not as if I
want you're probable now. Yeah, it doesn't change a ton, but there you go. I appreciate the correction there. Somehow I got that wrong. So just own Anunoby and Leonard. He's actually probable now, Delon Wright. So
yeah. I have an overwhelming amount of Chris Middleton. I have an overwhelming amount of Eric Bledsoe. I have an overwhelming amount of Malcolm Brogdon. I have an overwhelming amount of Ersan Ilyasova. Any objections so far?
Nope.
Okay. Brook Lopez at 4,200 on DK is just preposterously low.
Yep. Yeah, it is. All right. So one of the big pivot points here, if you're asking me to come to one conclusion that I would sort of stand on a little bit if attempting to make money tonight, is I would play more Bucks and less Pelicans. Those are the teams that everyone is, and to a lesser extent the Raptors, but the Raptors is fewer guys we're jumping on. And people want to play a lot of Bucks and a lot of Pelicans, and I would be more inclined towards playing a lot of Bucks and fewer Pelicans. That's sort of where I would plant my flag to differentiate amongst all this chalkitude that is going on here. So I think the Pelicans as a team, when Anthony Davis is out, are overrated. When Anthony Davis is in, I'm a giant Pelicans fan. When he's out, I think they're legit pretty stamy. I am not in any way surprised to see them mauled by Denver. And that's likelihood enough for me. And also, teams going into Denver and without those guys, so I've got my altitude bullshit going on. And just looking at the lines between these two games, Raptors and Bucks, I don't know how they've moved with the news, but it's probably 2 or 3 points. Denver's like a 9-10 point favorite at home, I think, now.
Yeah. I have it at 9 right now.
So there are spots. I have no objection with all the guys people want to take from New Orleans. They have all the upside in the goddamn world. But if I'm building a pile of lineups, I am generally going to be less exposed to Randall and Mirotic and Drew Holiday. Again, it's a little site dependent than I am to all these guys on the Bucks, especially on DK where they're ridiculously priced. Ersan's going to play 26, 28, 30 minutes and is basically a point per minute guy here. Now, this is not a good matchup for them. If you want the counter argument, it's Giannis is out. They can't space the floor as well. All the guys who are shooting threes and doing that stuff aren't doing it as well. Middleton can have a bad shooting night, and Toronto's an elite defense, and they just look terrible. That could happen. I think that's less likely than the Pelicans go into Denver and just can't get it going and get whomped in 3 quarters and end up with, it's still hard to look past. I really like Mirotic on FanDuel, where he's small forward, and he's priced the same as NDK, so that's a functional discount. And Drew Holiday at 6,700 without Anthony Davis on DK is a pretty sweet spot. So I definitely like those guys in the spots where they're that discounted. But one of the places I'd be trying to plant my flag is being more interested in this team and even Denver. By the way, we watched the number that the Jazz just put up on this New Orleans team just the other day. And again, that was a game they played in New Orleans, and the Jazz beat them by 20 without Anthony Davis in the last game. Okay, now we're going into Denver, and a Denver team that has been surprisingly good defensively this year. But But I have, especially on DK where they're too cheap, a lot of interest in the guys on Denver who are going to go way under-owned. Everyone's going to play the guys on the Raptors and the guys on the Bucks and the guys on the Pelicans, and not enough people are going to play the guys on Denver, which is another spot I'd like to pivot to. But to get back to this game, sorry, I did a little dance around there, but it's important.
You're good. We got plenty of time.
Yeah, it's important to put it in context, though. So, it's also worth pointing out that Eric Bledsoe generally smashes the living piss out of Kyle Lowry and has been doing so for years. It is a great, great matchup for him. These are game logs of Eric Bledsoe playing in games against Kyle Lowry where they both start. In one of these games, Kyle Lowry only played 27 minutes, and all the others he played 38, 40, and they averaged over 37 minutes apiece. These are the Eric Bledsoe stat lines in the last. We'll go 10 games deep. 25, 6 and 7, 2 and 2. 28, 2 and 3 steals. 20, 11 assists, 5 rebounds, and 3 blocks. 22, 10 assists, 5 rebounds, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. 40 points, 13 assists, and 6 rebounds. 29 points, 3 assists, 7 rebounds, and 4 steals. Here's I guess the bad one. 17 points, 2 assists, 1 rebound, 1 steal, 1 block. And in their last time out, in last year's spring, 21, 8, and 4. Like, it's been pretty goddamn stellar, and there's some absolute freaking monsters in there. And again, several of those games have, Giannis, and again, some of those games are going back to Phoenix, so there's all sorts of criteria floating around there, but I'm not worried about the matchup. It's $6,100 in the morning before I knew Giannis was going to be out. I was already, started doing the happy dance.
Yeah, Adam and I both loved him already.
I don't know if it's 100% for me. Again, I say those words very, very infrequently. But there are people who are. People are more on Chris Middleton than Eric Bledsoe, and again, especially on DK, Chris Middleton's price is absolutely stupid, also, and he picks up a pile of usage. But at their prices, I'm probably slightly more on Eric Bledsoe, but that's like being slightly more on blowjobs and salted caramel. They're both such incredible things, difficult to complain.
Yeah, and there's a reason that I'm a little bit more on Middleton than Bledsoe. I'm on FanDuel, and Middleton's $200 cheaper than him. So, if I were on DK, I would be all over Bledsoe and have slightly less Middleton.
Yeah, that is. I forgot that. Yeah, that FanDuel price is crazy on Middleton. So Middleton, I'm sure this has been said and read by almost everyone in the chat 100 times today. But yeah, the usage goes through the roof. He was already underpriced. He's 6 something on DK. He's too cheap proportionally on FanDuel. So yeah, Middleton the next guy. But Ersan will get the start. We'll play 28 minutes plus or minus 2. This game a little more likely to stay close. Again, will be very chalky and probably the piece of chalk I'm most interested in moving off here. Broggy Pants, again, just a little too cheap. We'll pick up some extra usage here. Certainly no interest or no issue if you want to go there. And Rolo, not out of play on FanDuel. Like, the minutes have not been what we hope, but a lot of that is due to blowouts. And this team playing really well in one game of foul trouble. But $4,200 on DK, I don't even know. Like, I would have some significant number of Rolo, Jared Allen lineups on DK as my 2 center spots. So, and also another guy who won't get enough attention is John Henson.
Yeah, like perfectly acceptable punt, 3,800.
He's just been good. He's 3,800. His game logs this year, the first game he only played 12 minutes. Since then, he's played 14, 16, 18, 17, and 22, and his fantasy points are 30, 27, 18, 28, and 23. He costs $3,800 on both sides. Like, he's just going to be under-owned. So just a strict pivot off to him from Ersan. If you get 2 fouls on Ersan, maybe you get 24 minutes of John Henson and we'll maul this price. So that's that team. And then looking across the ball, I think Pascal will go under owned. $3,900 on DK is way too cheap for Pascal Siakam.
Yes.
I think Serge Ibaka will go under owned. Serge Ibaka has been legit good. Serge Ibaka this is their 7th or 8th game of the year, and Serge Ibaka has not failed to score 24 fantasy points yet, and he's $5,200.
I have quite a bit of Serge. I have quite a bit of Pascal. Go on.
Yeah, he can take threes. He stays around the baskets. He's got frequent chance at a double-double. Neither the shooting nor anything else has been especially unsustainable. You take Kawhi out of there. I really like Serge Ibaka at $5,200. Better matchup for him than Jonas. You can always play Jonas in a tournament, but I would rather play Ibaka today for $100 or $600 less, depending on which site you're looking at. You can Norm Powell if you want to be cute, but if we have both Delon and Fred VanVleet, I'm probably not doing that. And, Kyle Lowry has been not quite Kemba Walker locked in this year, is pretty well locked in, especially when you have Kawhi out there. In the one game where Kawhi sat previously against Washington,
Yes.
You got big game out of him. You got big game out of Serge Ibaka in that game. You got a decent game out of Pascal Siakam. So, like those guys. Think I'm done now, but pretty excited for this game.
Lots of Ibaka, lots of Siakam. I'll have some Norm Powell because he's 3,500 on FanDuel, and that's just different now. Yep. No Kyle Lowry taking a stand.
Interesting. I think it's 8K on DK. FanDuel is 8,800. All right, I guess you're kind of doing a thing there. And Bledsoe does a fairly adequate job against him, and the matchup is kind of... So that's a perfectly reasonable place to pivot, especially if you're heavy on FanDuel. I still like him, but I get the play. I think it's a perfectly fine stand to take.
On to the Lakers and T-Wolves.
Woo! Small over-under in this game.
One quick note. We've got over 1,100 people in this live stream right now. That is awesome. Thank you guys so much. If you guys could hit us with a like, that'd be huge. New record.
I'd like to say one of my favorite things about being, I've been lucky enough to be, sought after for some reason in this industry, and no one ever makes me plug, and I feel bad about that, because all you guys have to plug, and I feel guilty about that. Like, every day you guys are like, hey, like and subscribe. Make sure you sign up for our $4.99 platform. Get your free game for 4 days. And I always feel like, God, I feel so busted I never do that. So I just wanted to say thanks to you for doing that shit so I don't have to.
Yeah, I was pressing up against the underside of my desk when I saw the 1,150 people in here. So excited.
Okay. Well, that's a man who enjoys a good subscriber count.
Hey, the growth is outstanding. 1,150. I remember when I did my first live stream last year, which was a year ago tomorrow, actually. Yeah. I think I got like 35 people. So.
Now, when you say the growth is outstanding, you're referring to the subscribers in the channel or whatever you were talking about pressing up on the underside of your desk?
Both. To the T-Wolves and Lakers we go.
Okay, good.
Wolves appear to be at a full complement.
Norman Powell is starting. Sorry, just want to get that out there for you.
Well, then I definitely still like Norman Powell.
Well, there you go. I think I might like him more coming off the bench if I could guarantee the minutes, but I feel safer in the play now. It's one of those weird things. Like, now I'm pretty sure he must play. I'd probably project him for like 26 minutes. Maybe he gets even more. You could see 28 or 30. So I feel much more secure in the play now. But as a GPP play, I like him more coming off the bench, where in theory the usage is higher and the ownership is lower. So it's a weird thing when they announce he's starting. Like, you should be much more comfortable playing him.
Yeah.
But the upside is reduced for those two reasons.
All right, let's do it because I have to get this out of the way now. Karl Anthony Towns, 8,800 on FanDuel, 8,400 on DraftKings. How stupid am I for going back to the well?
Fairly.
Yeah.
All right, here's my first thought to say to you would be like, well, there's so many amazing plays tonight. It seems like an odd time to do it. I guess is just what I'm saying. Like, if you have all the Middleton and all this and the Bledsoe and the Holiday and all the other guys we think have a giant upside for their price at 8K, and we still expect Butler to definitely be in there, and the running theory as to what's wrong with Karl Anthony Towns is that Jimmy Butler is between his ears. I mean, obviously the matchup is tremendous.
Jimmy Butler was also between something of Karl's at one point.
Yeah. His girl.
Evidently.
Now, obviously the matchup is ridiculous. You have a 240 over under. Nobody there is going to stop him if he decides to get engaged. So do I think it's wrong to go back to him? No, absolutely not. He's got a massive upside. He's going to be 1.5% owned, which is preposterous for Karl Anthony Towns against the Lakers. So I think it's a great stand to take.
We have him way higher than that, just FYI.
Yeah, I would rather play Buttles.
We have Karl Anthony Towns currently projected at 14% on FanDuel.
He's center there, right?
Correct.
He's how much there? 88?
Yes, he is.
You might get close to that. You might get
$1,500 cheaper than Nikola Jokic.
That is much less. 1.5 was me exaggerating, and which I shouldn't do. I should try to be more literal when you're talking about ownership numbers. But
you're good.
I'm fine with it. I'm absolutely fine with it. There's really nothing that could happen in that game tonight with that player tonight that would surprise me. I'd love to give you a take, but it's got nothing to do with basketball, really. Like, there is all the opportunity in the world. There's absolutely no reason to think he can't put up 77 here. So feel free. For me, it's just tournaments. But yeah, I can't, without getting into, Jungian psychoanalysis or whatever, I have nothing to add to the situation.
Add to this situation. Jeff Teague, 6,600 on FanDuel, 5,300 on...
Come on now. Yeah, I know.
Okay. You got to smash him here, right? He's just... 5,300 is just too stupid of a price for this particular game.
an absolutely asinine price. I don't think we have news on Wiggins yet, which would make it in theory even better.
He's planning to play.
Yeah, well, okay.
Whatever the hell that means.
He's been that's good. That's good. I often worry about what he plans to do because he frequently does other things. But okay, good.
If he's planning to play, I generally trust it. He's not the type of guy that just sits.
Yeah, no, I do think planning to play moves it from a 50-50 to like an 85-15. Yes, it is much more likely he plays now. It would be able to be like, I'm planning to play. It's less likely they say, that's nice, you're not.
Yeah. All the Teague in the world for me today.
Yeah, it's the problem on DK is it really wants to build itself. It says, okay, play Middleton, play Bledsoe, play Ersan, play Teague, play Drew, play Pascal, play like there's just like it builds almost a perfect lineup where it's like, hey, all these guys are too cheap and seem really good.
I wonder what Cash is going to look like on DraftKings tonight.
You wonder what?
I wonder what Cash is going to look like on DraftKings tonight.
The humorous thing is there's almost too many chalky, amazing plays. You only put 8 guys in a lineup. There's like 9 chalky and amazing plays.
Yeah, and you probably still have $4,000 left over.
Right, yeah, exactly. It works okay, actually. If you play all those 6-7K guys, they price in pretty sexily.
Talk to me about the rest of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Besides Towns and Teague, do you like any Butler? I don't have any interest in Wiggins personally.
Butler, I like Wiggins. Like Wiggins versus the Lakers is a real thing. It's come off a little bit recently, and maybe it was just an approximation. But if you get news Wiggins is in, yeah, I think you can do that for some wicked low ownership. But it's got 240 over under. Several guys on this team have to be good if it doesn't blow out. Now, there's a real chance the Lakers just skunk them because this Minnesota team is in that Washington team range of just seeming to be all screwed up in all these ephemeral psychological ways. So if they just go out and get demolished by LeBron and the Lakers, I wouldn't be shocked. I don't think it's the most likely occurrence, but I have that concern. But if that doesn't happen and this game stays reasonably close, Thibodeau obviously likes to lean on his starters a fair amount. Yeah, really hard. Now, Taj Gibson's 4,400 on DK. Like his minutes have started to come down, which is frankly nice to see. But yeah, a little Taj in your life at 4,400 makes sense in a 240 over under game. Yeah, Butler I think will go well under owned for what could happen in this game from him. Like you could really get 75 in this game out of Butler, would not surprise me. I think that's more likely than Towns doing it, just based on how Durft it has looked this year. But
give me your takes on the Lakers side. We're running a little long now.
I
love LeBron.
I think it's absolutely fine to play LeBron. I don't love him because of how amazing the rest of the slate is. It is hard for me to say it's a great idea to play 11K for LeBron, who I think gets you 60, because there's lots of guys who go 7K who I think get you 45 or 50. So that's my big issue with playing Bron there. But
I've got quite a bit of Ingram, quite a bit of Kuzma.
Yeah, Ingram got priced all the way the hell down. I certainly have no issue with you playing Ingram. Kuzma, I worry a little bit with all hands back on deck whether or not the usage is still going to be there, but he's way too cheap on FanDuel. He's 5,900.
Yeah.
DK is 66. FanDuel, the Ingram price is, the Kuzma price rather, is really nice, so I can see him being limited because of that. Josh Hart makes sense in tournaments at 5,400. Again, some guys have to score all the points in this game.
Yeah.
JaVale McGee, the price is starting to become appropriate, but there's still absolutely nothing wrong with playing JaVale McGee. I would rather play Lonzo than Rondo.
No Rondo for me at all.
Yeah, so that's where I look there. And I don't love Lonzo, but again,
neither do I.
56 on DK. 69 is nice on FanDuel, but not nice enough to play. But 56 on DK, I think is a number you can look at. And all right, I'm done.
Spurs and Mavs, don't get the sense we're going to have a ton to talk about here, particularly on the Spurs side where I basically don't have anyone. Do you have any interest in the Spurs at all here?
Yeah, I think you can play DeMar DeRozan in a tournament.
He will be unowned, I would imagine.
Right. It's $9,000 DeMar DeRozan, but has a couple 60-point games this year. He's actually a little cheaper on FanDuel. So not crazy to play him. Would rather play him than say Oladipo today. He's a tournament pivot. If you're punting point guard on FanDuel, I think Bryn Forbes is actually your best point guard punt there at 4,500 or less. Maybe I'm missing one, but
I think that's a fine take for me.
Yeah, so that, waiting to see a lineup. If you randomly get a Gasol start, I think he's interesting in tournaments. But the price on no one is particularly compelling. Rudy Gay, if he comes off the bench again, I said before the last game, I think he could be a beast if he comes off the bench. He's going to own all the scoring, and that happened. He had like 37 off the bench or something in limited time. So Yeah, I'm done with the Spurs. It's definitely not a team we need to get overly excited about targeting. And this is a 215 is this year a woefully slow game. I'm old enough to remember NBA games with an over under of 190.
Yeah.
That used to happen. Yeah, no.
Dennis Smith, Harrison Barnes, two guys I have quite a bit of on FanDuel. Otherwise, I'm not on the Mavs. Barnes, 5,300 on FanDuel, much better price than the 5,200 he has on DK. But either way, I think he's underpriced.
Yep, I agree. Dennis Smith, 55 on DK is wicked cheap and makes some sense in tournaments. Matthews' price is up, and he's been overperforming what I would expect. Obviously, Doncic may be out, so my interest in Barnes and Dennis Smith is going to go way up if it turns out Luka can't suit up. And DeAndre Jordan's still in play in tournaments. Mr. shooting 85% from the line, getting 9 assists, DeAndre Jordan. I don't know what the hell's going on there, but I'm anxious to continue watching it evolve.
I have no other Dallas hot takes. You want to close this out with Nuggets and Pelicans?
Yes.
Nugs and Pels. We'll start on the Denver side. I've got 35% Nikola Jokic on FanDuel. I'm very happy with that number. I don't really have a ton else here, though. I have a little bit of sprinkling of Monty Morris, Trey Lyles, Paul Millsap. But I'm more on the Pelican side, which I don't think you're happy about.
I'm fine. No. I'm saying a strategy for me is to say I do feel confident in saying that this team without Anthony Davis is even worse than people suspect. And I think everyone goes, wow, without Anthony Davis, they're probably worse. They're a lot worse. They keep up ridiculous pace. Their defense gets way bad. And now they got to run 100 miles an hour and try to load 40 minutes on Drew Holiday in Denver, where the air is thin and the whole 9 yards. Like, I just think it's possible they get absolutely wrecked. And so I'm more comfortable playing the other game, and I expect the guys here to still be really owned. That being said, in this game, and again, I've been looking more at DraftKings, you've been looking more at FanDuel all day. Right. DraftKings, everybody is a lot cheaper on Denver. Yes. Jamal Murray is $900 less. Gary Harris is $1,000 less. Paul Millsap is $1,100 less. Jokic isn't, which is one of the reasons. Is he still power forward on FanDuel?
No, he actually got moved back to center today.
They moved him back to center.
They did.
That was a weird couple of days there.
If he were a power forward on FanDuel today with all of the dudes that are out, he would be 1,000% owned.
Yeah, it would be a little crazy. So at least they moved him back to center. That is good. I will slightly prefer Embiid. That'll be my hot take today. I'll take Embiid over Jokic. They are basically the same price. Embiid's well more on FanDuel, actually. Embiid's like $11K, isn't he? That makes it interesting. But I will slightly prefer Embiid there. But yeah, so especially on DK, I like some ownership to these guys. I like Monty Morris almost regardless. I think he's a very interesting tournament play. Trey Lyles at 4,300, another interesting tournament play. But, having a Murray or a Harris or a Millsap at those DK prices makes a lot of sense to me. And then, the Pelicans, $6,700 on Drew Holiday is sort of a windmill slam as opposed to $8,000 on FanDuel, where he's still fine. If this game stays close, he's going to have to carry a lot of water. You could certainly pull 50 out of Drew Holiday here. I just think it's less likely than I pull 50 out of Chris Middleton, for example. Each one more is 4,500 and 4,000. That price is very compelling. Sans Anthony Davis. I don't think I want a Solomon Hill regardless. Mirotic, again, FanDuel small forward is nice. $7,300 is nice. Julius Randle has all the upside in the world at 63 and 62. Center on FanDuel, absolutely fine to play at that point. Cheaper over there than, say, Jared Allen. On DK, you're spending $800 more, and he's going to be more owned. I'll play Jared Allen. So
I'm nervous about his feet.
Yeah, he's been probable going into, I believe, the last 4 games consecutively with his plantar fasciitis. I'm a little nervous about them, too. That being said, I think it's just a ride it till the wheels come off thing. But if you're looking for another reason not to be super excited about playing Julius Randle, the fact that he's dealing with that.
I would just be surprised that if he got up to like the mid 30s in minutes because of it. And that's sort of my problem because that opportunity is there for him to do that. I just don't think they'll do that.
Yeah, he put a pretty good hammer down on the now, again, he started, this is the Lakers' last game I saw between him and Jokic was last spring. And he started alongside Rolo, but had a very, very good game against these Nuggets and managed to, with some significant energy, take it to Jokic a number of times. So I do think the upside is really there. I have no issue whatsoever with you playing him. It's just when you are dealing with a slate like we're describing where there are just a million stellar goddamn plays, I'm more inclined towards looking at the other game. And this is the way, if I'm trying to find a way that I think this can go bad, I think the Pelicans can fail to keep this close. So they certainly may. I don't think it's likely they get blown out, but I think there's enough of a likelihood that I can see that being how I would get over on the field where I'm playing today.
You want to answer some questions?
Yes, please. Only 7 minutes left. We've still not enough time, but let's do it.
We're getting there. Questions in Slack have dwindled. KD and Hardaway or Magruder and LeBron in a FanDuel GPP?
Certainly the first one.
Yeah, that's
I'm not spending $6,000 on Magruder. Like, we didn't
Not
talk
now.
about it much, but they have all the wings coming back, and Winslow is back, and Olynyk is getting the start, and I'm not playing like $6,000 on Rodney Magruder. He's not going to shoot 94% from the field for the rest of the year.
No, not at all. Slack, get your questions in. You've got some time, so we're heading to the YouTube chat. YouTube doesn't even really have them.
We must have done an exceptional job at covering everything.
We must have. Ersan or Siakam? No sight.
I'll take Siakam straight up. Even in cash, I don't think it's crazy, but certainly in tournament.
I would prefer Siakam in a GPP. Ersan feels safer. Dotson. Oh God, here we go. DK GPP. Dotson, Lowry, Tim Hardaway, Clay, or Tim Hardaway, CJ. Ugh.
Tim Hardaway, Clay.
Yeah, that one's not even particularly close for me. Drew and Teague or Middleton and Murray? No sight given.
I really love both of those.
I prefer Drew and Teague because I'm nervous about Murray.
Yeah, I play Middleton and Murray in a tournament, but Drew and Teague I think is a little better.
Drew or DeRozan? No sight.
That's going to be, I mean, that's weird. Even FanDuel, DeRozan is $800 more. So I'm playing DeRozan over Drew in a tournament. If somehow they're the same price somewhere and there's no difference, I probably have to take Drew in cash, but close.
What else we got? FanDuel point guards for cash. Bledsoe,
Lowry.
Yeah.
Bryn Forbes at 44 is the punt if you're looking in that range. Other guys I want to play in cash. Teague at 66 in that game is not playable in cash. So probably, those would be the guys I'd first look at. It would probably be Teague, Forbes, Bledsoe, Lowry of those four. Yeah, Steph Curry at 9,800 too. Still too cheap on FanDuel.
Murray or Gary Harris? GPP.
Those five guys. In this particular matchup, I'm going to play Gary Harris because of who I think Drew spends more of his time guarding. So I'll play Gary Harris.
DK, rank 'em. Olynyk, Allen, Barnes.
Allen. Just raw points. Allen, Barnes, Olynyk, barely. Tournament, probably same order, actually.
Yeah, Olynyk pretty chalky on DK, so I would probably be trying to avoid him there.
I'm fine with that.
Let's see what else we got. Teague or Jared Allen, DK cash.
I'll take Teague. I love me some Jared Allen, but that's just stupid.
Agreed.
5,300.
Point guard combo. Simmons, Bledsoe, or Curry, Lowry. This is FanDuel. I greatly prefer Simmons, Bledsoe because I don't have any Kyle Lowry.
I will play Lowry and Curry in cash. I'll play the other in a tournament.
Okay. FanDuel GPP, Collins, Siakam, Ilyasova, question mark. I don't know what the question is.
In a FanDuel GPP, Collins, Siakam, or Ilyasova, I think is his question. Not Ilyasova. Either Collins or Siakam. I'm fine with either of those pivots off Ersan in a tournament. Ersan will be the most owned of them.
Yes, he will.
I'm totally fine playing any of the other guys.
I mean, if you want to go to a GPP, Zach Collins will not be owned compared to those two guys, just at all.
Yep.
Lots of Siakam questions here. It's just Siakam everywhere. Thoughts on Dedmon?
Only FanDuel viable in tournaments, but even they're not any sort of core play.
Let's see what else. DeRozan or Holiday in YouTube chat has already been answered. Simmons or Lowry? I would prefer Simmons, but it's a very different price point.
Yeah, I would rather play Simmons than Lowry in a tournament.
Agreed. Let's see. Rondo, Drew, or DSJ Middleton on FanDuel? DSJ Middleton, not Rondo.
Yeah, not Rondo.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't want to answer it or like start reading it. It just happened to be the only thing that was on there. Thoughts on CJ McCollum? I wish I had more of him now. This is going to be the game where he goes crazy, and now I only have 9% of him. When this morning I thought I was going to have 40.
Yeah, it's tough. He's underpriced on both sides. The matchup is not particularly stellar here, people. Like it's fine to like. I would rather play certainly Clay, and obviously I would rather play Middleton, and rather play Bledsoe, and rather play Drew, and so I have no issue with CJ in any number of tournaments. I think it is a cash mistake.
Covington Teague or Allen Barnes DK GPP?
Covington and Teague, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't hate either of them, but slightly Covington and Teague. Teague will be just under owned. Like you're going to get him at a stupid low ownership for that price. Like you're going to get Teague at, I'm curious what our ownership projection has, Matt, but like 17%, which is just preposterously low for a 240 over under game.
It really is.
At 5,300.
Mitchell Robinson or Jordan Bell DK GPP?
Jordan Bell. We didn't talk about Jordan Bell. It's because they're playing Chicago and Steve Curry's he's a bit of a stinker. Like he really likes to do like, hey, I'll play Jordan Bell. You can play the guy you traded him for. What's that? Cash considerations isn't suiting up today. Like so he enjoys doing that against Chicago.
Did he get hurt against Chicago last year? Is that when he rolled his ankle in like the first 30 seconds?
I don't remember. I don't recall. He had one very good game against Chicago, I remember. So they only played Chicago twice. So in theory, it would have been the other of those two games.
I feel like he was chalky and got hurt like immediately.
To look it up. I would rather play Mitchell Robinson, but Jordan Bell is cute to play in tournaments for the aforementioned reason.
There's someone we forgot to talk about. We have a minute to go. Frank Jackson.
I mentioned him. I think he's an excellent FanDuel punt at shooting guard. I think beyond that, you don't really need it. He is not as point per dollar value as Urson and Pascal and even maybe Henson and a couple other guys. I'd like to think if you like my blowout theory and the less exposure you have to the starters, the better Frank is. So I think his projection is much better off the bench. I think Clark probably starts, but either way, Frank will close, especially in a blowout. So we didn't talk about Frank quite.
Minimum salary on FanDuel. He's immediately playable because of that and the fact that they're missing 80 minutes, 70 minutes out of their starting lineup. So
thou speakest aright. We're gonna get some. We are coming up on lock in just a couple seconds. We are locked. We are here. So we get ownership on two unexciting games. I almost want to stay on the air just another hour till 8 p.m. But that seems like a bit long.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna just not stick around for that.
You're hosting today. It's not like Spags, who I can keep hostage because I have the end stream button, which I generally forget exists when the show ends. Like the show ends, I'm like, hey, good show. Like because between you and the last 3 years, I was never the guy with the end the stream button. So I just forgot I had it for the first couple shows. So we'd get done and we'd be like, boy, these fucking people in the chat are annoying. The questions are terrible. What? Oh.
Laffy's a piece of shit and Adam's a piece of shit.
Laffy, I don't understand what he puts in his hair, but that's not natural. Like I don't, but So that occurred a couple times. But you have the button this time. So I'm going to look at some DraftKings ownership on these first two games, which I suspect will be very low on 76ers studs, is what I'm expecting to see.
I expect it to be relatively low just across the board, so I'm anxious to see.
Yeah, here we go. Two people made double digits out of the four teams in the early games. Here we go. Joel Embiid, 23%. That's higher than I would have thought. That's higher than our projection.
That is a pretty healthy number for Joel Embiid.
Yeah, I would have preferred Simmons a little bit anyway, and I certainly do when he's slightly less than half owned Embiid.
What did you say he was?
Embiid's 23.23.
We had him at 25, so kudos.
Okay, nice job, projections.
Kudos
I don't mean to cast shade on our guy there. Ben Simmons just less than half that at 11.27. Dwayne Dedman 7.44. Daddy-like. That's fine. But again, the FanDuel price was a little more exciting. Damian Lillard 6.2. Markelle Fultz 5.7. Robert Covington 5.45. Dario Saric 5.24. Victor Oladipo under 5%. I mean, if you're gonna play him today, that's got to be kind of exciting. JJ Redick 4.3.
Wiggins is out. Fucking NBA.
Fucking NBA. But your Teague shares, everybody. And by the way, you have an hour until that game kicks off on DK. You probably did not lock anybody in your DK lineup, so Again,
you also probably didn't have that much. Well, I mean, you're certainly not pulling that much Wiggins out to begin with, but you probably want to grab some more shares of Derrick Rose.
Yeah, Rose. I guess he's like 5,000 now. Like, we're pricing out the upside.
Yeah.
Like, I guess you can get 40 out of him. We've sort of seen it, but you're not getting fucking 50. And there's a lot of other guys around 5K who have a shot at it. So
I swear, if that doesn't help Towns out, nothing will.
yeah. Butler's not out. If Butler goes out, then yes, I like your Towns play. If no Butler, no Wiggins, then yes, I'm all about Towns. I still like it at a play at the percentage you're going to get it at. I'll be curious to see the ownership. Prince 4.3, Bembry a little under 4. I like that. McCollum 3.4, Bazemore 2.8, Alfred Camino 2.6, Zach Collins 2.6, Yusuf Nurkic 2.5% think he's worth it. Trey Young 1.65. Bloom came off that rose pretty fucking quick, didn't it?
Wow.
Evan Turner 1.4, Domantas Sabonis 1.3, Bojan Bogdanovic 1.2, Thaddy Daddy 1.15. Daddy like I'll take that at 4,600, that price, whatever. Kojo 0.6, Nick Stauskas 0.45, Miles Turner 0.39, Alex Len 0.35, Darren Collison 0.32, Vince Carter 0.2, Tyreek Evans 0.19. Okay, Tyreek Evans should be higher owned than several of the names I just read for
yes.
Like, that is 0.19. That is too small for Reek. He is gonna break it. So just for next slate, keep that in mind. He's being repeatedly real. There was one game I called this name this year where I said I like Tyreek, and he was good for like 33 or something at 5,000. So 0.19% is too low for Reek. Like, he's in that Bazemore class if can always hit the upside. I'm waiting for someone to play himself so I can stop, but we're going to be here a while. Amari Spellman, 0.19. TJ McConnell, 0.14. Mike Muscala, 0.11. Kevin Huerter, 0.10. Doug McDermott, 0.09. Woo, Jake Layman, 0.06. Okay, I like him at 0.06. I like I literally, he probably starts and plays 12 minutes, but at 0.06, I like Jay Layman. When he's
like 0.06%, like 6 out of 1,000?
Yes, that's correct. He is 6. Yes. Well,
No.
1% would have been 100. 0.1 would have been 1 out of 1,000. So he's 1 out of 1,600 if I'm mathing that correct. Plumlee 0.06, Amir Johnson 0.06, Jeremy Lin 0.05, Seth Curry 0.04, Kyle O'Quinn 0.04, Landry Shamet 0.02. I like him at 0.02. Game could blow out. I'll take some 1 in 5,000 lineups. Landry Shamet, Myers Leonard 0.01, 1 share of Wilson Chandler, Ike Enigbogu, and a share of John Collins. Congratulations, you played yourself. One guy made us not get to the bottom of the list, so I don't have to read the 1 share of Daniel Hamilton and the 1 share of TJ Leaf.
We have somebody in our Slack chat that's actually at the Minnesota game, and they said he was warming up and looked good.
Who?
Wiggins.
Of course he did. Oh, NBA, it's fantastic. Like, to a certain extent, it is natural. It's just gonna happen. Yeah. Like, I have pulled a hammy in warm-ups. I was playing basketball the other day and I hurt my foot just joshing around 30 seconds before the first game, and I'm like, oh shit, my foot's turning green. Like, so, I mean, it will, naturally occur on occasion. But that's yep. Andrew Wiggins ruled out for a quad. The Sixers will start Simmons, Fultz, Covington, Sarge, and Embiid. They'll start their normal people. So yeah, no news of real interest since we finished the slate. But 62 applications.
Good stuff.
People sending me interesting pictures. Jared Allen pictures. That's nice. I like people who just tweet me random gifs of players all day. Got sort of an Afro confirmation there. I'm gonna retweet that because that's a very nice Jared Allen gif.
For everybody that's still on, like and subscribe, guys. The likes are awesome. And
how many people are still on? I'm curious. I'm going to say what you said. We had like 1,100. Usually that goes down to like 700 by lock. People start to filter out with like 5 minutes left, which you shouldn't do. There will be 3 days this year that I and or Josh will win you a lot of money when news comes out at 6:59. Don't leave at 6:57.
No.
Don't do that.
People start to fall off at 6:45. So we lost from 6:45 until
7.
Until lock, we lost like 200 people.
Yeah, that's. I mean, if you're going somewhere else, that's fine. If you think someone else is better leading up to lock, I incredibly disagree with you. It's what I actually think I'm best at. But go somewhere up until lock, because really one of the things in NBA is correctly pivoting with 2 minutes left is a massive, massive thing. There are 0 to 5 days a year where it's like, oh, sweet, we got this guy we shouldn't have had at 1%. And this other guy was like, so it's remarkably critical. I wouldn't go anywhere. Though late swap helps you a little bit, I guess. So it's slightly less stupid of you, but still stupid of you. But how many people do we have like right now? Like 334?
Ooh, you are mad low. bad. You're not good at the guessing the people
now?
game. Yeah.
Right now, we have more than 370.
730.
I'd have thought, see, we are not being either terribly informative or entertaining at the moment. So I would have thought people had left in droves a while ago. I will reconsider my future while eating a delicious York peppermint patty.
Oh, they didn't sponsor us yet.
Oh, really? Oh, then fuck that. Tastes like a dog biscuit.
Perfect. With that said, I'm going to go eat some food. I don't know what food I'm going to eat. My wife's not home, so probably something that's really poor for my health.
Standard. My wife hasn't cooked in several years.
I can't say the same. The wife does a great job of cooking for me when I get done my live streams or lock my lineups. I just usually have a hot plate waiting for me.
Doncic expected to play. Drew likely to start at point guard.
I wish Luka would not play. I didn't play any of him. So him getting scratched and me having a boatload of DSJ and Harrison Barnes would be great.
Yeah, we have expected to play. I'm sorry. Maybe you should go with the ramen today instead of the veal cutlets.
I'm certainly not making veal cutlets. That much I can bet on. But I'm going to go figure it out. So,
all right.
Thank you, everybody. Like and subscribe. You guys know the drill. And you'll have Eddie and Chris tomorrow. Best of luck tonight. Adios.